Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Virgo energy. And for this round, we're using this Maruk X cards. They're kind of a mix. I have two decks combined, a type of Kipper deck and a Lenormand deck. And we're going to read it to see what could be going on in Virgo energy. And we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives, because it's not a personal reading. I don't know anything going on in your life. But I do know everybody's got free will. And some people in their Virgo energy harness a more high vibrational Virgo energy. Virgo's energy is about seeing the truth about things we like to keep hidden in the dark, things we didn't even know we needed to learn, being enlightened to the truth. And it's about learning lessons in life. And some people have learned some more lessons about love and treating other people the way they like to be treated. And some people could still be kind of caught up being more consumed with the world or themselves, or indulging their more immature worldly nature. And we just need to see the truth of it. If we kind of like to be in relationships with people who've learned some of the same lessons that we've learned, and what we think is just and fair, and all that good stuff, and what motivates and inspires us. So we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives. I'm going to shuffle this Intuit deck here in a minute to see what that wants to add to the story. And at the end, we're going to see what a possible outcome that people don't see coming, depending on if they harness high vibe Virgo energy or a more worldly, shadowy focused Virgo energy. Okay, so we all tap into Virgo energy because it kind of does have to do what our truth is and what motivates and inspires us, what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into. So listen to your intuition about where you're at in the story. Listen to your intuition about other people in your life. For the Intuit deck, we got inadequacy, and the reason it came out is because of impulsiveness. So, what do we do when we feel inadequate? The impulsiveness card is reminding me of like the Eight of Wands and Sagittarius energy. When we feel inadequate, we've all got our shadow nature. We've all got fears and insecurities and past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs. Do we take inspired action towards those things? And we could, or do we kind of use it as an excuse to indulge ourselves in poor behavior and indulge other people in poor behavior? So, what's going on in Virgo energy? We have seduction reversed. The reason is because of the fish and the star. So this is Pisces and Aquarius energy. We're either keep being seduced by our, you could even look at inadequacy as our shadow nature. We either keep kind of indulging ourselves in poor behavior, or we no longer let it manipulate us. Because it's all these things of the world that manipulate us, that keep us limited and restricted and confined and imprisoned, that stop us from moving forward in life, healing and growing and maturing ourselves. And some high vibe people got out of being seduced by their shadow nature, and then other people in their life they were hanging out with who wanted them to keep maybe feeling inadequate, or stay in their fear or their insecurity or their lust or their greed. And there can come a point in time where some things that we used to be drawn and attracted to, we're just no longer drawn and attracted to. We kind of grow out of certain phases in life. But high vibe people, Pisces is emotional water sign energy, and Pisces is also the opposite zodiac sign of Virgo, and it's meant to be being balanced between the two. And I think between all the opposite zodiac signs, we have to go out and learn these lessons in life, and sometimes we go out on the edge and learn some really hard lessons. And it's about getting more balance within ourselves. And so we do want these things of the world, which Pisces, being emotional water sign energy, can be things we love, things we like to go indulge in. But we've kind of learned not to let those things have such a hold on us that it does throw us out of balance. No, in my Virgo energy, I do want to accomplish these goals in my life, and I want these certain things in my life. But I can't let those things seduce me. I also have my emotional nature, my creative, inspired, loving nature, and that's equally as important. And if I'm going to invest in people, love is supposed to be just and fair. And if I'm investing in things that I don't love, I'm investing in people who aren't very loving, there needs to be a balance between the two. To have a truly stable, abundant foundation, which is also what Virgo energy represents. I have a dream. Two cards of like having a dream. One person could be more, some people in our life are more in love with themselves and it's more about them, and they want us to indulge them in their ego. We could have been indulging ourselves in our ego, getting caught up in these things of the world. Or one person's more aligned with their more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. One person might live more from their mind and their heart. And then we're kind of in a mismatched relationship. So it is about Aquarius energy, air sign energy of the mind, is about having a dream. But is it just about these things of the world? Or do we look at life from a higher perspective? And, there's a higher truth and justice to aspire to. It's not just about us indulging ourselves in the world, kind of in our ego. And it's not indulging other people in order to have those things. I have a dream. I want a balanced, emotionally fulfilling life. And I need to quit indulging poor behavior in myself and others. And I want to be in relationships with other people who have learned to work through their own fears and insecurities, to love themselves and believe in themselves and believe in their dreams, where they're no longer so manipulated by their more worldly, egoic, immature, prideful, self-indulgent, lazy nature, right? And then we have sudden wealth. When we learn to love ourselves, get more balance within ourselves, like between our Pisces and Virgo energy, that's when, Virgo is represented by the Knight of Pentacles. And the way I read tarot is that when someone is holding one pentacle, which the Knight of Pentacles of Virgo holds, and the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles, we can either have all these things of the world and we look really victorious and successful, and we could really like that, or indulging in certain things of the world to make us happy. But then sometimes those things like lose their luster because they weren't really the answer. Love is the answer. And again, the feminine figures can represent how we think and feel. When we learn to love ourselves and value ourselves and appreciate what we bring to the table, and we've healed and grown and matured ourselves so we're not acting out of more immature, shadowy energy, well, then we really are abundant, stable, grounded, self-aware, self-disciplined. More high vibe energy is being more independent of your more immature, shadowy, worldly nature. And then you really are a stable, grounded, emotionally abundant person because you've learned these lessons in life. And so again, when one person is holding the one pentacle, it means they learn lessons in life. I'm not as immature, prideful, egotistical, fearful, insecure as I was at one phase of life. I have learned the lessons I was meant to learn. I'm now at a new phase of life. I have no interest in repeating that past pattern. That doesn't seduce me anymore or manipulate me anymore because I've grown and healed and matured myself, expanded my perception of myself and the world around me. I've learned to look at life from a higher perspective. I've learned to keep things in perspective so I don't get all up in my head or in my emotions and tipped out of balance. So high vibe people have learned all these lessons, but we can know some other people in the world that being motivated and inspired by that is not what seduces them. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to connect in with my emotions. I don't want to look at life from a higher perspective. I don't want to look at those things that I keep hidden in the dark. I want to keep them hidden in the dark. And people have their free will to do that. So, for living in a world of duality where people have free will choice. I can do this, align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature, or I can align with my more worldly, self-indulgent nature. There's going to be people that we can come into contact with because it is to help us learn about free will and realize not everybody's motivated by what we're motivated and inspired by. But people can wear a false mask and people can try to present themselves as being in more high vibrational energy. Oh no, I'm not selfish and greedy and prideful and egotistical and manipulative and materialistic or immature. And, because we can be attracted to them, and they're presenting themselves as being on the same page as you are, we kind of get caught up in the illusion, which is what Pisces energy can be about. Wow, this person created an illusion, that they're not this kind of more immature, superficial, shallow person. Oh my gosh, this is like my dream come true. And they can present themselves as being driven and motivated by the same things you are. And then you get in relationships, maybe, take that job, get in that friendship, join that organization, date someone, marry someone. But then sometimes as we move forward in relationships, with the moon card here, which is Cancer energy, is it really love that drives and motivates some people? And then we might think some people weren't really telling us the truth of who they were. And in tarot, the moon card can kind of be people trying to confuse people about the truth. And people can use their emotions manipulatively in a relationship to try to get people to keep staying in a relationship with them, create the illusion, oh no, I'm this loving family person. I'm this stable, grounded, I look at life from a higher perspective person. I'm not shadowy. But then as time goes by, we can keep moving forward in the relationship because we love them. We're kind of caught up in the illusion of who they are. And, the gift of money is like an Ace of Pentacles. We have this new beginning. The Bees card is Virgo energy. We think we're all on the same page. We think it's going to be emotionally fulfilling, like our dreams are going to come into reality, and then boom, the Tower can happen, which kind of reveals the truth of somebody's foundation. They weren't quite being truthful about what really drives and motivates them. And underneath the half-truths is the Fox card. And it's Scorpio energy. High vibe people thought that people were being truthful and honest and were motivated and inspired by love, but someone could have been being deceptive and manipulative. And Scorpio, like Pisces and Cancer, is emotional water sign energy. But again, people can, in their more emotional nature, they're not connected they don't use them in a high vibe way. I use my emotional nature to try to manipulate people, to view me a certain way so that they'll get in a relationship with me. And high vibe people in Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio energy that they harness, and their Virgo energy, they want to be in authentic, emotionally fulfilling, deep, meaningful relationships. And then we can find out that someone kind of just creates an illusion, kind of keeps their more authentic, loving nature kind of buried beneath the surface, and just uses their gifts that they were given that could have made them a very emotionally abundant person, and they kind of rejected that gift. And it's like, no, I'm going to misuse those gifts and I'm going to use them to try to manipulate people. And then you kind of find out that they're more emotionally shallow, superficial, more about moving forward in relationships to kind of indulge themselves in the relationship. It's good for their ego and image. It makes them look like they've moved on. Looks like they're not the same person that they were before at the last job, last friendship, last romantic relationship. They've grown up and matured themselves. Look at the person I'm in a relationship. Would this person go out with me if I was that kind of person? Well, yeah. If they're wearing a false mask and they're not being authentic, and if people don't know the truth of who they are, it takes time to get to know people. So then people can get in relationships with them, and it takes time. And, we can really want these relationships to work, and we put a lot of work and effort to make them work. We could see that maybe they've got some issues they need to deal with that stop them from being in a more deep, meaningful relationship, that they have some fears or insecurities or defensiveness, but we want it to work, so we keep putting in work and effort because we want that dream to come into reality, and we're hoping that they'll change their truth. It's really hard if somebody has a way of viewing life. If some people are defensive to being hurt, they do just want to indulge in a relationship and let you keep moving forward with them in a relationship with them being defensive to being more authentic and open and loving. But you're being open and authentic and loving. And so then they're not really in a relationship with someone who's like them. You're not in a relationship with someone who's like you. And that's when we realize we're kind of in these mismatched relationships, but it can be really hard for everyone because there can be love there, whether those people are your adult children, your siblings, your parent, a good friend you've had for a long time, or a romantic interest. Everybody cannot want to let it go because Scorpio does talk about these conflicting emotions we can have for people. I hate them. I love them. I don't ever want to talk to them. I hope they call me tomorrow. And then we have the Bear card, which this references this Taurus energy that that with some people in our life are on the same page as us. They do this work within themselves when they're tempted to operate and take action more out of fear or insecurity or defensiveness. They take this action. If I act in a more immature way and I don't deal with these issues within myself, in the Tower card, this is going to come crashing down because I will be more manipulated by my fear or my defensiveness or my feeling of inadequacies, and I'm going to sabotage this relationship. And in I wonder if it's the Lenormand deck, but the bear can represent like mother energy. And we viewed people as loving, and they could have been loving in our life, but are they wanting us to keep loving and believing in ourselves and keep growing and grow to our full potential? Or do they want us to stay in a relationship? Because if you move forward in life, it's kind of like, when we were 15 years old, we lived life like a 15-year-old. When we kind of let go of our more 15-year-old ways of being and we acted and faced our fears of becoming more like an 18-year-old. Well, if we were both 15 and living life like 15-year-olds, and then one person it's like going to a different timeline. Like, I'm going to face my fears about believing I can run on this track in life, Well, then there's kind of tension in the relationship because one person is still viewing life like a 15-year-old and maybe acting like a 15-year-old and has a 15-year-old view of life. And another person is kind of acting more like a more emotionally mature 18-year-old view of life. And I think we do this throughout our life. And there's tension in the relationship, and, you don't want to maybe do some of the same things you used to do when you hung out with them when you were 15. You want to kind of do more like 18-year-old stuff, but they still want to do 15-year-old stuff. Or just the way they view the world, maybe kind of more immature, self-indulgent. Just the way they view the world. What they find they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into is different. So unless the other person is willing to kind of look at life differently and work through why they want to maybe keep living life the way they were living it and not move forward in life in a more maybe emotionally mature way, the relationship's going to kind of fall apart. And sometimes we're in relationships with people when we're 45 and 55 that someone has to let go of some old ways of viewing life. And Taurus energy does have to do with our philosophy of life and how we view life. Again, Could we be more motivated? Taurus, earth sign energy is work and effort to have stability and security in our life. That's a driving factor of Taurus, but are we going to go about that in high vibe Taurus, where we act with character and integrity, treat other people the way we like to be treated, love is equally as important, or do we kind of get tipped out of balance where I'm kind of more about me, those things of the world, or I think I should kind of be indulged in a relationship? Because Taurus has to do with all those institutions of the world, workplaces, family dynamics, relationships, dating, marriage. And if one person has a way of viewing relationships where they kind of think people should indulge them in a relationship and their idea of the dream relationship, I'm kind of more about me or these things of the world. But oh, here's someone who's loving and nurturing and is more mature than me, and they don't act like me in a relationship. Perfect. That's the perfect relationship. I'm going to go get in a relationship with someone who doesn't, maybe immature, bossy, controlling, prideful, egotistical, self-centered, manipulative. I'm going to go get in a relationship with them. I'll create an illusion that I've invested in high vibe Virgo energy too. And so long as they're kind of caught up in the illusion of who I am, this relationship works. But if someone really isn't as emotionally mature or stable or grounded or loving or free from their shadow nature like they profess to be, the Tower card is where they, either by listening to our intuition, we kind of realize, I don't think you are who you say you are, or they're actually doing things that it's like causes us, the fox also could be like the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, but it's like, wait a minute. I thought we had this dream. I thought we were both on the same page, motivated and inspired by truth and love and acting in a mature way. But you seem to do things that seem to conflict with that. And then I'm confused because I viewed you as a certain type of person, but your actions seem to show me that's not the truth of who you are. And then we emotionally have that hard time sorting through those emotions because it was someone that we loved, that we wanted to be in a relationship with, that we viewed as maybe a just, fair, loving, stable, grounded person. And they're doing things that it could feel like what shadowy people can do is I'm going to create an illusion so you get in the relationship with me. And I'm hoping that even when you do see the truth, because you love me, if you're not being truthful and honest and authentic, you're trying to manipulate people. I think I can use the love that you have for me to manipulate you. And that even when you do see the truth, you won't want to accept the truth, deal with the truth, take action on the truth. You'll keep moving forward with me, staying at this job, even when you found out I'm kind of bossy and controlling or immature. Stay in this friendship, stay in this romantic relationship, stay in this marriage. Because you did put in this work and effort, and you'd like it to work. And they're hoping, you keep hoping it'll work, and I'll keep doing what I do. Are we going to keep staying in denial of the truth? Or are we going to stand up for our philosophy of life? This isn't loving. This isn't just. This isn't fair. And because I love my own self and my hopeful, believing, loving nature, as like a good mother to myself, I am going to protect my authentic, loving nature from people who I think are trying to be deceptive and manipulative and not telling me the truth. And I have to do this work within myself to love and believe in myself, not willing to stay in a workplace, friendship, or romantic relationship where my intuition is telling me, or it's been revealed to me, the truth, that these people aren't who they say they are. And then in my own like mother figure philosophy of life, I deserve to be in relationships with people who are being authentic, letting their inner child out to play in a loving way. And I'm not going to be a mother figure to someone, a loving figure in someone's life who thinks they can be immature. Everybody needs to learn these lessons, temper their ego. It's not about them. My dream isn't codependent on a certain person being in my life. If they're not on the same page as me, then my dream isn't going to come into reality with them anyway. I might have some of these things of the world that, it looks all wonderful in a way, but it's kind of not the truth. And I can live a life of illusion. Or I'm willing to stand up. Power, boss, leadership, strength, bully, stability, forceful, protective influence. I'm going to learn to love myself. And I might have kind of gotten tipped out of balance where instead of holding other people accountable for their actions because I love them and they know I love them, that now they're kind of abusing the power and position they hold in my life. Well, that's not a good mother or a loving person. And I'm going to stand up for myself. I see my dream can't come into reality with these people if they're not willing to reveal the truth. The tower is about revealing the truth. And my dream can't come into reality with them anyway. So I'm going to do this work within myself, not be seduced by my own fear and insecurity, and I'm going to be inspired to wrap my brain around this game of life and walk the talk. If I believe that there's life-giving, creative, inspired energy in this world, kind of represented by God at the big picture, there's shadowy energy, non-life-giving energy in the world, and people who are in that energy. I want to give birth to a dream based on truth and love. There's other people in life who don't want me to do that, want me to live life like they live it, live a life of illusion, not live my truth, not speak my truth, want whatever manipulates them to let it manipulate me. And I'm going to believe in myself and believe in my dreams that if I invest in life-giving energy, having hope and faith and belief in myself, and take action in high vibe energy, walking the talk with character and integrity, quit investing my time, energy, and effort into people who don't do that, well, that increases my odds that I'm going to meet people who are more on the same page as me. And I think God wants us to have our divine inheritance. But we have to get out of our illusions and our fears and being so tempted by the world to get caught up in the illusion. We have to detach from that. And when we free ourselves from that and have not let people deceive us, and we are a good mother, father, coach voice in our own head, and we've done this work to be very stable and abundant within ourselves, as we move forward in life, there's going to be other people who want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you because you're a loving, nurturing person. Who doesn't want to be in a relationship with someone like that? But now you've learned, and another lesson we have to learn in life is that we were given these gifts and these resources to help us navigate in this world. And one of them, in Pisces and Cancer and Scorpio energy, our emotionally intuitive nature, is to listen to our intuition. Because how many things did we get in the past where we didn't listen to our intuition? Oh no, God, I want to go invest in that. And we went and did it anyway. It's like, yeah, you'll have some lessons to learn. And then when you see, you'll learn these valuable life lessons. And then as you move forward, you can add those lessons into your understanding. Not everybody's motivated by love. Some people wear a false mask. Some people are more about themselves or ego or image or indulgence. Some people are authentic and loving. Some people aren't. Some people are just and fair. Some people aren't. But everybody can try to present themselves as high vibe, but they're not. And we were given a gift to listen to our intuition. And if we listen to our intuition when we invest in people, And if our intuition says, nope, this person, your gut is telling you this person is being kind of deceptive and manipulative. They don't let their more authentic, loving nature out to play. They're being like an overprotective mother, father, coach in their own head. You can't go out there. You can't let your more authentic, loving nature out to play. You might fall. You might skin your knee. You might fall down. Those people might hurt you. Well, you either have learned resources in life and lessons in life to know that if I want to be in those type of relationships, I should be that type of person. And I have to believe, high vibe Scorpio, not everything I go pursue is going to work out the way I want. But that's riding the roller coaster of life. And we are emotionally complex human beings. And I want to go on the roller coaster. I don't want to stay on the merry-go-round. And not everything I go invest in is going to work out the way I want. But high vibe Sagittarius, life's about learning lessons. Put me in, coach. And you go in and you go play the game. You do the best with the lessons that you've learned. You're going to learn more lessons. If you listen to your intuition, doesn't mean you got to call out people when you think people are being deceptive and manipulative, and you get to know people and do the best you can with listening to your intuition. And when you're in a relationship, you stand up for yourself. And, we got lessons to learn about standing up for ourselves too. I am not to be abused or manipulated. And if you are going to be deceptive or manipulative or bossy or controlling, I'm going to stand up for myself and I will detach from you because I am no longer in more codependent energy. I have a dream, and my dream can only come into reality with people who are willing to do this work within themselves and hold themselves accountable, to detach from being seduced by thinking it should be a little bit more about them or indulging in poor behavior. If you want to go do that, but you need to go find someone else. And because some of you have done that, some of the people in your life who did try to indulge themselves in their ego could be kind of trying to hide the truth from people about why that relationship didn't work out. Because they did take a foolish risk out of their fear or their insecurity or their pride or their ego or a lack of self-worth, instead of working with you and communicating the truth and working through it with love, they decided instead to try to manipulate you, control you, make you not love and believe in yourself so you would keep indulging them in their poor behavior, stop you from loving and believing in yourself so they could kind of be abusive in a workplace, friendship, or relationship. And when you saw that and you stood up for yourself and you probably offered them truth and love to move forward with you in a more high vibrational way, and if some of those were like, but I'm not willing to do that because I probably do these things because they're my coping skills and I don't want to deal with the truth of it. In Virgo energy, that takes time, energy, and effort. And I prefer not to do that or be more independent of those things or some of my immature ways of being. And they were more willing to let the loving people in their life go because that's just not where they're at right now. So then they may never get there. But they probably didn't want to tell the truth about why the relationship ended. Oh, they were a really loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging person, but I'm kind of more about myself, and they wanted me to invest in high vibe Virgo energy and work through these things that manipulate me, my fear, my insecurity, my pride, my ego, my lust, my greed, and I wasn't willing to do that. And they saw the truth of it, so they moved on. They're a more emotionally mature person than I am. And they don't want to tell the truth about it. Well, sometimes what people will do, if you're kind of more of a loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging person, some other people want to be in a relationship with you. They want you to keep staying where you're at. So like I say, they might do something hurtful and unkind. Paying more attention maybe to other people, being kind of maybe intimidating or controlling, immature, trying to test your boundaries or something. But they could do things to try to tear you down, make you not love and believe in yourself, get you in more codependent energy, so you'll do the relationship the way they want. If you're not willing to do that, then they might try to tear you down and lie about you so people won't view you as a high vibe person, because they want people to view them as the high vibe person. But they could purposely do things to try to make you drive your life off into the ditch by being hurtful and unkind. And that does hurt, and we don't understand, and it's confusing. Why is someone who I thought loved me acting like this? And it can put us into our shadow nature. And we can all go in there, but high vibe people have learned, I don't know why this person's doing what they're doing, but they're acting in a way I find really confusing. They're not being truthful and honest. They're not being just and fair and loving. And I don't want to let people who are bullies or negative energy, people can throw me to the curb and try to throw me under the bus, but I'm not going to let someone who's in ugly energy put me in ugly energy. I'm going to do this work to love and believe in myself, and I'm going to keep moving forward and work through the confusion of it. And while they do what they do, I walk the talk. They could present themselves as a shadowy Taurus, pillar of society, but you already know the truth that that's not who they are. So you're really walking the talk, and they will probably take action out of pride and ego, lust and greed and self-indulgence to make themselves feel better, because they know they're not telling the truth, but they don't want to deal with the truth. And as you keep moving forward, walking the talk, they do what they do, it eventually kind of reveals the truth of who is telling the truth. And that can take a really long time, because again, some people wear a really good false mask, and a lot of other people could find it hard to believe that that person is a more shadowy person than they present themselves to be. But then they might try this again with someone else. And again, when other people get in a relationship with them, if they get in a relationship with another loving person who listens to their intuition, who learns to stand up for themselves, the same scenario plays out again. If they get in a relationship with someone who's kind of more caught up in these things of the world that they make important in their life, other than love, well, then other people could kind of see that it is more about indulging in these things of the world, or them being indulged, or money or materialism. And then people kind of see the truth of that too over time. And if you're not indulging in your ego and making decisions in your life more out of fear and insecurity and codependency and lust and greed, and you're kind of walking the talk, I don't want to do that again. I'm looking for people who know how to love themselves. And I'm not going to get in a relationship with just anybody. Well, then it kind of shows who's out indulging themselves in the world and in their pride and ego and their lust and their greed, and who isn't. And that kind of is self-evident too. So as you're moving forward, I would say the high vibe people are high vibe energy, as you are authentically who you say you are. And in high vibe Virgo, you are somebody who's putting in work and effort to bring your dreams into reality. And it isn't like, oh my gosh. Some people that are more worldly focused really put a lot of emphasis on, because they're all kind of living more from their mind than their heart, and it's all about ego and image. How people view them is really important, and they could feel like they don't look as victorious or successful like if they're not in a relationship. High vibe people, high vibe Virgo, represented by the Nine of Pentacles. If there's not anybody who's kind of on the same page as me to be in a relationship with, then I'm going to invest in other things that are part of my dream, my stability, my security, my friends, my family, enjoying life, so that when someone comes along who is the right person for me to be in a relationship with, I am free to go be in a relationship with. Some other people, because they haven't learned how to love and believe in themselves and maintain balance within themselves in other ways, could get in relationships just to make them feel more stable and grounded. And then if someone comes along who they'd maybe really like to be in a relationship with, it's like, oh shit. I kind of created an illusion that this was my dream life and dream relationship, but I really wasn't telling the truth, but I didn't know if someone who was really going to be on the same page as me would come along. And now some of those people are kind of maybe feeling really unstable within themselves because it's like, because I didn't love and believe in myself and I kind of got myself tangled up in some relationships, and then it's difficult because even if someone really isn't on the same page as you, you can love them. You know, probably everybody's kind of been there before, you know. And if it's a more mismatched relationship for both people, if one person sees someone where it's like, oh my gosh, that person really seems like a loving, nurturing person, why am I in this relationship? Well, I had lessons to learn. You know, a person who's more about being indulged or ego or image or something, and they're in a relationship with someone who won't indulge them in their poor behavior, or the most important thing is putting in slow, steady steps to have the stability and security, but they could lack impulse control and they kind of want what they want now. Well, and then if they see someone who's like, oh my gosh, I think that person would indulge me more, or that person has more money and status and image, you know, they want to go do that also, you know, and that's why a house divided can't stand. If you're in a mismatched relationship, eventually it's either going to be very unstable, but just not driven and motivated by the same things. High vibe people can kind of work through it because of love for themselves and having hope and faith and belief that, you know, there's more to life than ego and image. And it can be very destabilizing and it can be really confusing, but high vibe people align with the divine, to work with the divine, creative, inspired energy. There's more to work with in this world than just the things of the world. Some people think that is the only thing to work with, but there is this creative, inspired, intuitive, loving energy in the world that we can work with, and there's other people in the world that are in that energy, and if we keep working with that energy, we're aligned with true abundance. Other people are just working with things of the world, and other people who have those things of the world. And we let our loving, intuitive nature and being authentic and other people seeing the truth that you're authentic and loving and just and fair and not prideful and egotistical and materialistic and immature, and they see that truth of you, and those people want to work with you. And as you do this work within yourself, it can take time. We can emotionally distance ourselves from people, but it can take time to really emotionally detach. And some people are ready. Some people are just seeing the truth of some mismatched relationships in their life. Other people have already detached from those, and now they're finally emotionally detaching. And it was all doing this work within themselves to love and believe in themselves. And just like you're doing that, other people are just in the phases of doing it. Other people are at the same phase as you. Other people have already moved on ahead of you. And the shadowy people are still being shadowy, just trying to manipulate someone else. Probably. So, what's coming up? But there's going to be a lot of different people would view you as a shining star. Some of them aren't going to come towards you because they just haven't done this work within themselves and don't feel adequate. Well, as long as they keep caught up in that illusion about themselves and don't choose to love and believe in themselves and appreciate themselves and what they bring to the table, then I guess there'll be someone who doesn't ever get in a relationship with you because you're going to move on with other people. You know? It's not like people are expecting people to be perfect human beings or, we're just looking for people who treat us with justice and fairness and are authentic and loving and encouraging and supportive. We can all use more supportive, encouraging, loving people in your life. Does that mean you're going to date everyone that you meet or want to marry everyone you meet? No. But are you someone who I enjoy spending time with you and you enjoy spending time with me? And we can be friends? Letting go of people who aren't telling the truth. So, what's coming up for high vibe people they might not see coming? The Knight of Wands. Sagittarius energy. Why? Because of the King of Wands. In high vibe, the Knight of Wands and Sagittarius energy is life's an adventure to be lived. And something I went through could have really made me do all this work within myself to get more bold and brave and confident, to do this work within myself, to free myself from things that manipulated me, that made me stay in those jobs, friendships, or relationships to begin with. And to detach the tower, detach from an old way of viewing life, living life. Now, in my fire sign energy, being more motivated and inspired to believe in myself and believe in my dreams. Not being so seduced emotionally. I have a dream. I have my way of viewing life and what I think is just and fair and acting with character and integrity. And I've learned these lessons in life. And I've learned to listen to my intuition. I'm going to keep moving forward. The sky's the limit. And I think as you do that, and when you are done doing this work within yourself, you'll communicate with other people in your world. This is how I'm moving forward. Are you on the same page? Do you want to come with or do you not? Some of those people would like to, but they won't. Some of those people is like, dang, I'd like to, but I might have gotten myself tangled up in something, or really I am more about myself or ego or image and like more codependent relationships, and you're not in codependent energy, and you won't be in a more codependent relationship with me where I can be kind of more about myself or these things. You want love, and I'm not willing to do that. Sorry, glad you thought I was, but I'm not. And other people will do this work within themselves to move forward with you. And as you move forward, you're going to meet other people. You're going to meet immature people, and you're going to move that are more about themselves, and you're going to meet people who have gone through the same thing, and you're just going to listen to your intuition about who's who. And the people that seem to be on the same page are the people you're going to go on this new journey with. What's coming up for the shadowy people that they might not see coming? The Death card too. Why? Because of the Six of Swords. Some people think I can plant bad seeds and I can have my dreams come into reality. I'm going to have all those things that other people want. And there's rules to this game of life. They might get it for a while, but the divine's in charge. That's an injustice for someone to plant bad seeds and reap a wonderful harvest. How many people have we read about in the newspaper? They thought they were untouchable. I can do this and this and this because I have this certain status and image or social clout or power or money that I can hide the truth of my foundation. I can be deceptive and manipulative. I can abuse people. And the truth comes to light. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And the divine is trying to give birth to something new, and eventually the truth will be revealed. And what they thought was going to come into reality, taking action more out of pride and ego than truth and love, it's not going to work out the way they want. They might be able to move forward with it and look like a shining star in the world, but it won't be in life-giving energy of love. They might have other people. This is Scorpio Aquarius energy. There might be other people that are like, yeah, I'll move forward with you in a relationship. If they are a loving person and don't listen to their intuition and detach from these kind of more immature, bossy, controlling, egotistical, materialistic people, the people who might end up staying in a relationship with them might be people who gave up on their dreams. I don't believe there's any higher truth to aspire to either. I'm kind of caught up in the world. I want those things of the world. You have those things of the world. I'll move forward with you in a relationship. Works for me. It's good for my ego and my image and my status, and that could be what they care about most. It just won't be based on truth and love. It's an emotionally shallow, superficial relationship if both of them are in shadowy energy. And again, if one person, if they keep trying to get high vibe people in a relationship with them, eventually the high vibe people see this isn't based on truth and love. Some of those people are experiencing a tower moment ending right now because the people in their life see the truth that they're not who they say they are. They're not telling the truth. They're not being authentic and loving, creating the illusion of being a loving, stable, grounded person. But they're just more about indulging themselves for their own reasons. And other people see the truth, and high vibe people leave their life. It's not to be more about them. It's not supposed to be about intimidating and controlling people, manipulating people. It's about being inspired by truth and love so they can move forward and look like they have all these things of the world. Other people are in relationships inspired by love. So there you go, Virgo energy. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.